Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us here on Giant TV. You may be listening to us on Giant Radio, and very excited to have my guest here today, Dr. Lepora. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly, Paul.
Fantastic. Well, you and I have had a chance to talk offline, and as we were joking earlier, you've got a lot going on. As I said, all the degrees behind your name. So these I love people. I have a genuine curiosity about people, and so
Sure.
I have a lot of great leaders and consultants and coaches on this show. So I want to just jump right into it with you, and thanks for taking the time. And first question is, where are you from? You know, where did you grow up? I'm always interested in that
Absolutely.
part of a person's life.
I grew up in Syracuse, which is a pretty small, we call it a small town, even though it's technically a city. Most people are familiar with Syracuse by Orange Men,
Right,
uh,
right.
but it's well landmarked by the amount of snow that we get as well. So yes, grew up in upstate New York and been
Big
in
family?
Atlanta.
Big
I'm
family?
sorry?
Big family? Any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I have several sisters. I have 7 sisters and a brother.
7?
And yes,
Oh my Lord, where do you
there's
fall? Where do you
and they're
fall?
spread. I'm the middle child, and they're spread throughout the U.S. Myself, as well as another sister, is in Atlanta.
Oh my gosh.
Been in
Well, that must have
Atlanta
been
for about
well,
18 years.
18 years. Well, growing up, were your siblings constantly stealing your stuff out of your bedroom and everything? I mean, that's part of it, isn't it?
It is part of it. I definitely remember those days. Absolutely.
Oh man, that's great. I love big
Yeah, it was
families.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Are you still close to your siblings? You keep in touch and so on?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. That's
Definitely.
great. So
Hmm.
so then what happened? So you grew up there, and then you were saying
Hmm.
then you went off, you went away to college. I know you
Hmm.
did some schooling and you studied
Yeah.
psychology, I think, right?
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
part of what I studied. So I went off for undergrad to University of Buffalo, and I didn't know any better, Paul, to be honest with you. If someone told me I could go to school where it was warm all year round, go to the beach, that's where I would have been. I probably would have been somewhere closer to where you are now in California, or at least Florida. But
Right.
no one told me that. So,
Yeah, that's not
but
Buffalo.
but I went to a really great school. It was just very cold, University of Buffalo, about 2.5 hours from where I grew up. So that's where I did undergrad, and then I studied psychology on a master's level. I studied clinical psychology in University of South Carolina, and then finished my doctorate work in organizational behavior and public policy back up north at University at Albany.
Wow. And when you were focused on that specific discipline, did
Yes.
you have at that point a track where you wanted to do this coming out of your schooling?
Yes and no. Some things have changed and some things have changed that stay the same. So when I first started on the track, I said, okay, I'm going to be a professor, And during my dissertation process, and I'm sure anyone who has completed the dissertation process can attest to the patience that is required. It is a marathon, to say the least. And what it made me realize is I have a tremendous love for research. I have a tremendous passion for learning, continuous learning, which is what academic research is. However, I wasn't patient enough. And to be honest with you, Paul, I'm still not patient enough to be a research professor. So I said, I said, you know what, when it was getting close to time for me to graduate, I said, I think I'm more so into the action research orientation part of a PhD and the work aspect of it. I could see myself being a professor when I'm around 50. So
Okay.
now that age has significantly been delayed to now I see myself being a professor around 70.
Okay.
But I do love to teach. All kidding aside, I absolutely love to teach, and so I'm still able to do that with the leadership development programs that I develop and deliver, as well as with the coaching that I do.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's
it
closely
gets me
tied.
right. Yeah, well, it gets me into what you're doing now is
Mm-hmm.
tell me what you're doing now and
Sure.
then the transition of getting into it and what you're focused on.
Absolutely. So, as you know, like most of my career has been about how do we improve behavior? And that behavior is on an organizational macro level as well as on an individual level. In the most recent years, my focus has been mainly on leadership development. It just graduated that way. I'm so passionate about development overall. But I work a lot as far as transformation. So leaders tend to reach out to me, or people in concern of leaders within their organizations tend to reach out to me regarding transformation of the leader and or transformation of the organization.
What does
So
that mean? What is that? Can I stop you there? What does that mean? I hear that a lot.
absolutely,
Transformation,
yes,
what exactly do you mean by transformation?
absolutely, great question. So most people who are used to working in executive coaching are used to leaders coming out and saying, I want to transform certain aspects or a lot of aspects. And so that means significant change, basically. So Paul, for example, you might want to make a very small change in your lifestyle. I work out 2 days a week. I want to work out 4 days a week. So that's a change, and that's probably something, if you really want to do, you could easily do it on your own. And then there's transformation. So that may be, okay, I don't necessarily want to work out 2 days to 4 days, but I really want to change my lifestyle. So that's how leaders reach out to me when they significantly want to change their leadership style. They want significant more influence on their team. They want significantly better relationships. They want a significant improvement in the way that they measure and perceive success, as well as develop ways to attain accountability within their organization. So the transformation focuses on a significantly large change or significantly large changes.
So,
And so I work with leaders to make either significant changes within themselves or significant changes within their organization. For example, if they're more of a manual organization and they want to go to a more automated technology type of way of operating, remote work, for example, that's a transformative effort that oftentimes I'll work with leaders to make happen in a very successful way.
so then when you start working with somebody,
Hmm.
just as you're talking, in my head, I'm thinking, okay,
Yes,
you're getting in the gutter with them, and you got to know
absolutely.
everything about them, right? I mean,
Yes,
what does that interaction look like?
yeah. So for me, I'm not going to say that I'm the only person doing this, but I think it is unique in the executive coaching space, whereas I focus on a 360 scan. And that 360-degree scan is on the person as a whole. So you hear a lot of executive coaches talk about 360-degree benchmarking, which we
Right,
do.
right.
And that means, hey, Paul, I'm not just looking at you, but I'm also looking at how do all of your stakeholders perceive you? How do the people who report to you perceive you? Your direct reports, or the people who work that partner with you, or the person who you report to, or the board of directors. The 360-degree scan that I also do is one looking at them holistically. So it's not just about when you're walking in your office door. It's also about, what did you leave at home? What are your relationships like there? What are other aspects of your life that are helping or hindering the specific goals that you have right now? So your focus might be, I want to be a more personable leader. I want to be a leader who is better at inspiring great performance on my team. And so I'm not going to compartmentalize you just to that office or to that team, but I want to look at holistically, Paul, what's going on, what is helping and hindering that goal that you have to inspire your team for better performance in all aspects of your life.
What if you get into, so that you just mentioned something about what's going
Mm-hmm.
on at home that may be impacting your business.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a guy that loves, I don't like to share everything about me and my family all the time. I kind of
Sure.
play close to the vest. So when you're
Absolutely.
dealing with executives, I'm sure I'm not the only one that way, but
No.
yeah, I mean, how do you handle getting into someone's a personal issue?
Yep.
You have a business relationship. I mean, is that challenging?
Absolutely. It's challenging depending on the person, and one size does not fit all. So some people have very strong, armor that they have around themselves, a strong fortress, especially in the workplace. We're
Right,
taught
right.
to show the strong side, to show the corporate personality, and leave the home personality here or the other personal personality there. And we're not rewarded for transparency, even though it's far more popular in today's, literature regarding what a leader's supposed to look like. It's still not mainstream practice. So it's not that I expect every leader to be transparent. It takes time. some leaders never get to that full transparent level. And like any other coach, the relationship is owned by the client. So that level of transparency, that level of depth is owned by the client. And so that's why I always encourage clients to be very cautious as far as how they choose coaching partners, because you want to choose a coach who you can trust and who you feel comfortable digging deeply with. Otherwise, you are handicapping yourself, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your investment. So it's very important to have that trust in order to be comfortable, in order to be transparent in that relationship.
How long do your engagements last? You start working with somebody, is it go on,
Mhm.
are they a client forever, or what does it happen? You know?
Most clients aren't clients forever, but they may come in for what I call a tune-up, so to speak.
Right.
So my packages specifically, they start at anywhere from 4 months to 2-year packages. And so some people, if they are in, say, for example, a new position and they need a significant stretch, they may start with a 6-month assignment, whereas someone who may not necessarily know what stretch they need, but they know that they need some support in a new role. Say they're going from senior director to vice president, they may start with 4 months. I rarely do single sessions. Those are usually reserved for people who have already been clients and who are getting a tune-up, so to speak,
Right.
with regard to
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so next gen
Mhm.
is, tell me about next gen, because you have
Yeah.
you're connected there, and what's
Mhm.
that relationship like?
Yes, so NextGen is really just an overall talent management consultancy. It includes executive coaching, but it has a broader span where I partner, essentially I have partners that I work with to provide all talent management services. So it's leadership development, as you're well aware of, but it's also succession planning, those types of services as well. If you need, for example, new leader assimilation, bridging new leaders with their teams, more of that team group dynamic work, more organization effectiveness. If you want your processes analyzed to identify how can they be more effective and efficient. So it's more holistic talent management.
Hmm.
Those services include.
Sounds like you're kind of like a quarterback. You going in and you kind of got all these components you can connect together, to help somebody out.
Absolutely, absolutely, because they all do connect, and when
Yeah.
we do not have them connected, then we definitely risk losing those opportunities for growth and integration.
How do you keep focus with such a busy schedule?
Mhm.
I mean, time management and stuff. How do you do it yourself? Are
Yes.
you able to keep up, and you able to separate the two, personal and business and all that?
Yep, absolutely. I think, if I be quite honest with you, Paul, with the whole pandemic going on right now, there's a very blurred lines. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Right. Yeah.
significantly blurred lines, because most of the work I'm doing here in my home office, on the Zoom with other people, like yourself. And so it's hard to say, okay, it's time to go home, because no one's telling you to close the door, so to
Right.
speak.
Right. Right.
So
And
it's pretty
the
blurred.
refrigerator's way too close.
Exactly. It could not be far enough. But it's not bad in the sense of when you love what you do. It really should be a blended experience. You really should not have to, say, oh, I can't wait to get out of this place. If you have that feeling, you're usually in the wrong place or in the wrong role.
Do you stop your day at a certain time and then you're off doing your personal stuff, you yourself?
I try to, but to be
It's
honest, it's
hard.
harder. It's harder lately just because schedules are all over the place.
Right. Right. Right.
But in a typical environment prior to COVID, I definitely try to
Right.
do
Right.
that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're all struggling with that issue, is the blending of personal and, yeah, it's unbelievable. Well,
Yes.
so where are you going from here? What's the next kind of 3 to 5 years bring for you? What's your goal? I know you want to be a professor at age 70, which, is far, far down the road. But, what about the near term? What's going on?
Absolutely. Right now, my focus is on just more global expansion. Uh, I've always been globally focused, but now that the world is just so remote friendly, and not only remote friendly, but remote required, it just makes sense for me right now to focus on how can I serve on a global level? How can I help leaders on a global level? So that's my largest focus really right now, is how to reach those leaders who are in need on a global level.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Great story. When you were talking about that case study of someone needing to exercise 4 days a week instead of two, right here, right here. Oh yeah, it's always trying to get 3 sweats a week in. If I can do that, I'm
Right.
satisfied. It's so hard to do, you know. I
Absolutely.
may need you to bug me on that one, but
Okay.
yeah, listen. I mean, you and I could talk forever. You've got such a fascinating
Absolutely.
background. Yeah,
Thank you.
I really appreciate you coming on. I'd like to have you
Mhm.
back, you know, as you grow and expand and do different
Sure.
things. And thank you everybody who's listening or watching this. Really
Mhm.
appreciate your time. And I know, Doctor, you and I will be talking again soon.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you're welcome.
Yep.